components. In components, two types of components we have seen, how to use inline technique and code behind. How we can design inline and code behind, and we added the components manually. Adding components inline and code behind. Manually adding every file we have to create. We need to import the library, use the directives, configure them. Now another technique, now we will see how we can add components. Adding components by using Angular CLI commands. So how to add components by using Angular CLI commands? That is what we need to know. Angular CLI commands advantage is, as I already told you, they provide scaffolding technique. Scaffolding technique means they generate all the logic that is required for the requirements you specified. So what are the CLI commands? How to use them? Let's see. The command and description I will give here. So to create components, what you can do is you have to go into the folder where you want to create component. You have to run the commands. You know, commands are executed from terminal. From terminal, you can run the command ng generate component. So these are the shortcuts, nggc, or you can write detail ng generate component. Ng generate component and its name, the component name. What this will do is it generates component with all 4 files. You know, 4 files are the HTML file, so the CSS file, the TS, and the spec.ts, these 4 files. That is done by using nggc generate command, right? These are the options, generate command. So we are creating the component by using this command. Now in the commands we have a lot of shortcuts, means flags. That means, as I already told you, we can create a component inline. We can create a component inline. We can create a component code behind. For that, there are so many flags. We have to use various flags. We can use the flag called dry run. Dry run is a flag. When I am giving hyphen means they are the flags used with the above command. Above is command. For the above command, these are the flags. We have to use these flags. Dry run means it will not generate any file. It will not generate any file. It is just a preview for command. It is just a preview for command. That means it will show the developer what it is going to do. That means generally, sometimes what happens, you executed a command and you don't know what the command is going to generate. You just executed a command and it generated so many things which are unnecessary. You are not using them, but it generated all of that. In that case, after generating, realizing that these are not required for me, and again deleting them, time waste. What you can do is, before running any command, first you can check what this command actually going to do. As a developer, we will not generate the command immediately until or unless we know the consequences. That means we know what it is going to generate, then we will really generate. So if you are not aware of what a command is going to do, then first use dry run. Dry run is like trial run. Trial run means it is not really generating, it is just showing you what it is going to generate. So let's see. So for every command you can use a dry run actually here while generating components. This is our project. In this project, let's go to the terminal. So where you want to create component. Yesterday we created this components folder. We have to go to components folder, open this components folder in terminal. That means right click and open in integrated terminal. Then it will open in the terminal. This is terminal. Already I told you that don't use PowerShell. Use command prompt. How to switch the command prompt we learned. Here we have to run the commands. Now what is the command here? So to generate a component, we have to run the command ng, and here we are using generate component. You can write complete word or this is shortcut. And component name. Suppose I want a component called home. Now what it will do is it will really generate everything for you. Now simple, you add a flag, dry run. You use the flag dry run. Now what this flag is going to do is it will just show you the preview of this command. That means it will not really generate that command. It will just show you the preview of the command. Now when I run this, you can see this command preview will come. You see, dry run flag means no changes were made. That means nothing happened in your project. Then what is the above list? That is the list what it is going to really generate if you don't use dry run. If you don't use dry run, it will generate all these things. That means it is going to create 4 files and it is going to update 1 file. What are the 4 files it is going to? So here we have 4 create options and 1 update option. So what it is going to create? So you can see it is going to create a folder for home in components. In that it is going to create all the 4 files: HTML, spec, TS and CSS. And it is going to update this file. That is good. App module.ts. Updating means, as I already told you, after adding a component, it is not ready to use. We have to register the component in declarations of app module. Yesterday we saw that manually we done. Now yesterday we manually done. Now this will do automatically. It will generate all the files. It will register your component in the app module. Only the point is you have to keep in startup if you want. That you cannot do by using command. Which one to start, that you have to manually set. Rest of all other things it will generate. And see here in the project, in the components, you can see there is no home. We have only login and register. So this command is not really generating. It is just showing you the preview. So dry run is a flag. which tells that the command that you are going to deal, so will generate all these, will update all this, but it will not really do it, right? That is dry run. You can add this dry run every time before running a command to know what it is going to do. Another flag is we can use, you see here, so ng generate component home, dry run will be there. I will keep the dry run because I am showing you the commands first. We have another flag adding. This flag is I will define as here inline styles. Inline styles. So inline styles. Actually, inline styles is nothing but, technically inline styles means, inline styles is so inline style, yeah, inline style, yeah. You just need to use this inline style. So what inline style will do is it will not generate CSS. It is not going to generate CSS. That means we don't want CSS because we want to maintain the styles inline. Yesterday we learned inline documentation. Inline documentation means we write the styles inside the page. That means inside the component TS file itself. So if you are thinking that you don't need a separate style sheet and you want only inline styles, few styles need to define, then good. You can go with your inline style. You see now it is generating only 3 files this time. One is HTML and the test file and the TS file. No CSS file generated because we said that CSS we will write inline. So you have to add this flag, that is inline style. Inline style. It will not generate the CSS file. It will not generate the CSS file. So styles are configured in component using inline technique. Inline technique we learned yesterday. By using inline technique. So that is inline style. Suppose I don't want style sheet and I don't want HTML also. I want to write everything in single file. In that case, you can add combination. You can use inline template. Inline template. Inline template means it will not generate. It will not generate .html file. .html file. So it is not going to generate that CSS file inline style. And it is not going to generate, it is not going to generate the HTML file. The HTML file. It will not generate HTML file. So markup is maintained in single file. If you don't want to generate both, so here you see the command now. I'm using the command. So ng generate component, home component in that inline template. And we will add dry run. Dry run always, because we don't want to really generate, just see the preview first. Now inline template will not generate the HTML file. It is not going to generate HTML. Only the TS file, only the CSS file, and only the spec file. So here, if I don't want both CSS and styles, inline template HTML, then what you do, add both commands, right? you have to put inline template space, you have to put inline style. That means it will not generate both HTML and CSS. It will generate only two files, the spec file and the TS file. I don't want the test file also. Yesterday we haven't created test file because we are not dealing with testing. If I don't want the test file, then skip test. Then we have to use skip test. Skip test is nothing but it will not generate. It will not generate. So .spec.ts file. It will not generate the test file. It is spec.ts. This is the test file. Test file is not generated now. If you don't want to generate the test file, then you can use this flag. So here I am using the flag again. And here I will add one more option, that is skip test. That is the flag. Now enter, and it is going to generate only one file, that is home component.ts. And it is going to generate the home component file and update this file. It is going to update this file, app module. Only one file is created. That is done by using this, right? One more flag is there. This is not to generate that file. Another option is there. So we can put flat. Flat is not nothing but actually flat. It will not generate a folder. It will not generate a folder for component. If it is not generating a folder for component, that means the files are outside folder. Yesterday we saw that we can create a separate login folder and maintain the files inside it. A register folder and maintain files inside it. So if you don't create a folder, then what will happen? So all files are generated in these components only, right? You see app component is not having a folder. App component is not having a folder and other components having a folder. Why? Because we maintained, so the app component we haven't created. They maintained app component in a flat style. Flat style means it is not going to generate a folder. So for example, suppose it is going to directly run them, ng generate component home and dry run, and here we have the flat option defined. Actually that is going to generate, see, you see here when I use flat, it is directly generating all these in components folder. All these files, these are all files. These files are directly generated into components folder. It is not maintaining a separate folder for them. If it is not maintaining a separate folder, lot of issues will come later when we are dealing with so many components. You see, I remove that flat. If I remove the flat, you can see the difference actually. In components, you see in components a home folder is there, which is not there above, right? Above we don't have that home. Here we have home folder. Here we don't have it. That means it is maintaining a separate folder, and in that everything will be there. You don't want a folder, then directly you can use this flat option. All combinations you can try depending on your requirements, right? Now, very important note is in early versions of Angular, that means before Angular 13, in early versions of Angular, all flags are defined are defined in camel case actually. Now recently they changed it. That is the reason if you blindly follow some internet tutorials without knowing which version they are telling you, then you will have problem in commands, because now commands, their way of representation changed a little bit. Earlier we have to write the commands like this. That means hyphen hyphen skip test. So we have to run option like hyphen hyphen inline style. This is how we used to write in old version of Angular. From Angular 13 and higher version, this changed. So this is in camel case. Now this changed. Now why? How you have to write? We have to separate. We have to separate with a hyphen, inline hyphen style, inline hyphen template. Earlier it was inline template like this. Now it is inline hyphen template. So the commands, the way of concept is same. All commands will work similar, but the way of configuring the commands syntactically changed from Angular 13 version onwards. So you have to make sure which version you are using, because sometimes in companies you will be working with an older version of Angular. There this type of syntax will not work again. You need to switch to camel case if you are running. Anyhow, you will not face much problem, because when you try to run a command which is version based change, then automatically it will show you that in this version we made this change. Try like this. That's easy. You can easily identify and handle it. Anyhow, this is all for creating component. Now let's really create a component and see. Really create a component and see. We will run ng generate component. Component name is home. And in this, I don't want testing file. Then I will simply put skip test. That's it. I want HTML file, I want CSS, and I want the TS file. No testing file. Okay. And I am not using dry run, means it is going to really generate it now, right? Previous commands not affected. They are just preview. Now enter. Now I am not using dry run. It is going to really create all this. Now you can see when I go to the project now, you can see in this, in the components, you can observe you have a home added. And in this home, automatically all the files added. I told you scaffolding. Scaffolding means, you see, when I go to the TS file, automatically logic also added. Everything is ready. Everything is ready. But when the logic is added through commands automatically, then so many things which are not needed for you may be generated. So what we done yesterday, we just created component as a class and we successfully done so many things. But see, now it is showing that class component is implementing another class called implements, means that is not class. It is an contract, right? It is implementing a contract called onInit, and it is using some onInit, and it is having a constructor, of course we know, right? So some details are automatically generated, which we don't need every time, right? Later you will learn what is this onInit. Actually, every component have several phases we call as component life cycle. In that component life cycle, various phases will be there. In every phase, we can handle different activities. Those phases we can write for component explicitly. That is one phase. Actually, init is a phase of component. As of now, we don't need this. You can delete this, or you can simply leave it, because later you will learn how to use it. As of now, we don't need this. then we can simply clean up this. We can remove all this. We can just put, you see at the top, on it also not required, right? We need only component. Yesterday we created this manually. Only what we are doing, we are writing some title, which is a string type, and here it is home component, the title we defined. And how to display in HTML. In HTML, some sample markup is there. And yesterday we saw template binding expression. What is it? Double curly brace. Here we need to add the title. Now this is done. If you want to add some effects, you can go to your CSS file, and wherever heading is there, some background color. So some red, some color, some white, some text align, center, some padding, some 5 pixel, like this we define. Now after adding the effects, now you see here in this, we are designing this. Now next step, let's go to app module. In app module, already home component registered. Yesterday we imported it manually and configured. It is already updated. Just if you want in the startup, you can keep it. As I already told you, we can have multiple components, right? That means here I will add one more component, that is home component. And I want to use this home component in the index page. In index page, what we will do, above this grid, we will use app home. Already we discussed that we can have multiple components. Now in these 3 components are there. One is app home and login and register. So we designed all these, and you can see here everything is fine. Now let's compile. Ng serve project is equal to shopping. Let's run that project and see. We are adding extra this home component into the index page. Now everything is ready, and let's see. Localhost 4200, and that is the home component. We have the home, we have the login, and we have register. And yesterday we learned, if you want any one component, how to define multiple component, how to define, where to define, all these basic things. This is the basic technique of designing and adding the components by using commands. So what we have to do, simple example. So first step, open components folder in terminal. Open components folder in terminal. Components folder is the folder that we created yesterday in our project, and run the following command. And the actual command, ng generate component and home, and we have skip test. In short, you can write like this. So ng generate component home and skip test. Remember, these are the commands for component. Later for services, separate commands will be there. For contracts, separate commands will be there. For pipes, separate commands will be there. So many commands you will come across. These are related to components, how to add components and define. Next, after this, what you have to do, we made some change, home.component.ts. In home component.ts, we need to add the logic. That means we just added a title. Title is string and home component. That is only the option. We don't need to make any disturbance in the code which is already there. We can leave it like that. Next, in heading home.component.ts, HTML. In that HTML, we just added a heading with this title to display. That's it. We need to define that title to display. In home component dot CSS, we are adding this all code, extra CSS, just roughly one CSS code we are adding into this. That's next. Another important is set in Bootstrap. Set home component in Bootstrap. Set home component in Bootstrap. Home component in Bootstrap. In Bootstrap. Already we know that Bootstrap, and in the Bootstrap we have the home component. Where it is present in the file. You know the file. The file is app.module.ts. We don't need to do register because already it is registered when you added by using command. Now define in index.html. In index.html, in the body section, just we are using app home. That's it. You can use it along with other components, or you can simply configure this alone. Only home you can use, or you can use along with other components. This is the process of adding a component using CLI commands. So 2 techniques we learned: how to add components manually, configure them, register them, and make them in the startup. And we learned how to add by using commands. Right now, once we know how to add commands, now we can start, components. Now we can start building it. That means we can start learning how to build complex applications by using these components, working with these components. So for that, what we will do is we will take help of Bootstrap, because to design good interface, you need Bootstrap. We will learn Bootstrap. We will learn later Angular Material also. I told you Angular Material provides a component designs, right? So we will use Bootstrap and we will use Angular Material, both of them. So Bootstrap allows to design more good interfaces, right? So what we will see now is how to set up and install Bootstrap for Angular. How we can set up and install Bootstrap for Angular project, so that we can start building good interfaces. We can start building good designs, right? For that, we need to set up and install Bootstrap, right? How we can set up and install Bootstrap for Angular project? Let's see. Currently, our Angular project is not using Bootstrap. We are manually using CSS. If we have Bootstrap, I am not teaching Bootstrap here. I am going to use it. As I already told you, Angular developer means 100% complete knowledge of HTML, JavaScript, TypeScript, Bootstrap, CSS. Compulsory, right? You cannot say that I am an Angular developer but don't know Bootstrap. People will laugh. Like, Angular developer, you don't know Bootstrap, then what you are? Because what is the role of Angular developer? To build front-end interfaces. So without Bootstrap, what you will do? Without CSS, what you will do? Right? So you cannot call yourself as Angular developer for real-time projects if you don't have knowledge of CSS, Bootstrap, HTML, perfect, JavaScript, all. Mandatory they are, right? So while learning, so you learned Bootstrap, that's very good, right? Otherwise, you just see the classes, what we are doing, you try them, that's it. I am not going to teach you Bootstrap here. We are going to use it, right? So Bootstrap, how we can install. Simple. What you have to do, open project workspace, open project workspace in terminal. Open project workspace in terminal, then run the following commands. Now, what are the commands? Now remember, Bootstrap doesn't belong to Angular. Bootstrap is an independent library. Any library which is not related to Angular, it is installed by using npm. Anything related to Angular is ng. We use ng. Ng is for Angular project commands, and npm is outside Angular, right? So Bootstrap doesn't belong to Angular. So you have to run that by using npm. npm install Bootstrap. Install Bootstrap and save. You have to install Bootstrap with a save flag so that it saves permanently in the packages. Now you need to install one more, because Bootstrap current version is 5, and from Bootstrap 5 version they given icons also newly. You can install npm install Bootstrap icons. Save. You need to install these two libraries. One is Bootstrap, another one is Bootstrap icons. Bootstrap and Bootstrap icons. These two we have to install. So let's see how to use Bootstrap in our project, right? So here, first open your project workspace in terminal. Our project workspace, right? So already anywhere, right? Open in terminal. This is the terminal. This is our shopping project. So you run anywhere, doesn't matter. Any folder you run, npm means automatically it will keep all the files in which folder? Node modules folder. You install from anywhere. npm means it will install the files in the node modules only. So you can be in any folder, you run the command. Automatically it will install in this location, right? You must be in that workspace, that's it. In the workspace, you can be in any folder. In the workspace, you can be in any folder. Now we have to just use, what is it? npm install here Bootstrap and save. We are downloading and installing Bootstrap. So that is Bootstrap successfully installed. Next, npm install Bootstrap icons and save. So Bootstrap icons also getting installed here. Bootstrap and Bootstrap icons, these two are fine, done. Once Bootstrap is ready, now next point, our project is not yet ready to use Bootstrap. We installed Bootstrap, but project is not ready to use Bootstrap. So every project its own links we have to configure. So how we can make the project to use Bootstrap? You have to go to the project folder. You see, this is shopping is project folder. In that you have src. In that src, you will find styles.css. Styles.css is the location where you have to configure the styles, which need to be globally used for project. For project, what styles you want to use? Here, 2 points are there. You can write styles and you can import from another file also. It provides the facility of writing and importing both. So what you do, go to styles.css. Here you can write the styles. You can write the styles, whatever you want, you can write here. Or we don't need to write. Already we have two style sheets. One is Bootstrap, another one Bootstrap icons. Those you have to import here. You have to write at the net import. You have to import and the path where they are present. Currently our location is app. Come out of that app /. It will come out of the app. Now we are in SRC. Come out of that SRC. Again /. Now we are in shopping project /. Now we can see node modules. In node modules, what is the library? Bootstrap. Bootstrap, in that Bootstrap file location. Bootstrap will have dist. In dist you will have CSS. In CSS you will have bootstrap.css. That is the file you have to link. That is how you link. Remember, you have to link in HTML page, then you will use a link tag. Here we are not using the link tag here because it is not HTML, it is a CSS file. In a CSS file, we are importing another CSS. And one more CSS you need. Any number of like this. You can use import .. In that node modules, we have Bootstrap icons in that font. In that font, Bootstrap icons.css. You need to import these two files. These two files need to be imported in the styles.css. So, what is the next step? Go to shopping. In the shopping app folder. In the app folder, you will find here, you see in the shopping SRC app, right? In the shopping SRC app, you will find the file called styles.css. You have to go to styles.css. In that styles.css, these two you have to do. You have to import these two style sheets. You need to import these two style sheets. And what is the .. You already know that is path, right? Because all libraries are installed in node modules. Whatever you install through npm, you have to bring the files from there and you can use. People can also use font awesome icons, because in real-time websites we use font awesome. Now we are using Bootstrap icons. Different icons are there we can use. Now your project is ready to use Bootstrap. Let's see how to implement this. We will see how to implement this. So to use Bootstrap, now observe carefully here. I am designing here. Let's go to the HTML output. You observe carefully here. So we just done import of these two and see some changes happened in output. Some changes already happened in output. Changes are nothing but margins adjusted, font style little bit changed, because Bootstrap is currently working. If Bootstrap is currently working, then automatically it will have some effect on your page. And now you know how to control Bootstrap and how to use Bootstrap. Let's design a form. Let's create a form by using this Bootstrap. So let's do one simple. Suppose means I will create how to use these Bootstrap symbols, icons and all this. We will see one option here. Let's close everything, all the files. Now go to app. In the components, open a new component, reveal in Explorer, reveal in integrated terminal, and generate a component, ng generate component. I will give component name as Netflix register. Netflix register. The component name I am giving Netflix register. And skip test. Skip test. We don't want any test file. Netflix register, that is the component. Okay. Now after designing this component, all the files are added. Let's close. Now you see Netflix page. This is the Netflix page. In this Netflix page, I want to design this one. Means just only this register form, right? I want to design this register form. I'm not designing entire page. Later we will design entire page, right? I want to design this register area. Only that register area, right? Register area means this line and this design. That's what we want to create. Then see what we are doing now. And let's go to Netflix register. Here, I don't need to do anything in the TS file. In the TS file, we don't need to do anything because no dynamic interactions required, only design we need. So we don't need any properties or anything to configure. Leave it as it is. Just go to HTML page. In HTML, now here we have to design. Now you know that if Bootstrap is working, then you have to use the class container, right? Container fluid, you know, it will fit your content according to browser. To fit the content according to browser, container fluid. This is not our own class. It is a Bootstrap class. It is a Bootstrap class. And now what I will do here is, for this container, I am just using another option here. We will create another div. In this, we will put a paragraph. In that, I will put that sentence. Ready to watch, enter your email, create or restart your membership. This is the sentence we have in that website. Below that, we will create another div. In this div, we will just put here input type is equal to email. And I will put a placeholder as your email address. Okay. After that, I will put a button here and I will put a word called get started. And after that, I will put a span. This span will have an icon. Icon is BI. BI is Bootstrap icons. Bootstrap icons. BI chevron right. That is the icon. So if you don't know icons and all, already you know, Bootstrap official website will be there. Get Bootstrap. In this, you have icons. You can go to icons and you can search for icon you want. So here you have so many icons. Suppose chevron, right? This is the icon we want. So chevron right. Yeah, these are the icons. Chevron right. This is the icon. So, and you see the class name, the BI chevron right. That is the class name. So that is the class we need to apply here also, right? That is the class we need to apply. Already we are applying that class here. That is the class we need to apply. Chevron right. Okay. Now, here important, let's keep this in the startup. Still it is not having appearance, good appearance. Let's go in app module. I will remove all of these because now I want to use only which component? Netflix register component. Only this I will put in the startup. In that case, you have to go to index and clean up all this. In the body section, you have to use app Netflix register. Only this we have to do. Let's save this and you go here and see. You can observe now in this that Netflix register will come here, refresh, and this is what it is there. That's only the design that we created. So now what we have to do, give a good appearance for this now. Because we are using Bootstrap, generally what we can do is, we will go to this and wherever you have this container, I will put here BG dark and text white. BG dark and text white will keep like this. And I will keep this height, style height as suppose 400 pixels. Just I am increasing the height, right? So I'm just increasing the height, right? Just to show you the screen. Okay. Next, now you know how to design. This can be kept as class input group. We have Bootstrap input group, and email, we have to apply a class called form control. These are all Bootstrap classes. For email, we use form control and input group. And for button, we are using BTN and BTN danger. And I will give input group as LG, large size. Now you can see that this is going to apply in this way. So that is the Netflix register form that you see. Width and height, your wish. You can adjust the width, height according to the placements, requirements, whatever you are doing, you can configure it. Now I will keep this paragraph as a class text center. This is the paragraph which keeps center. And I will keep this div class as margin top 4. That means it will adjust the margin, right? So I will give one thing, because margin means it is coming down from the container. I will just put padding 4, padding top 4, then space will come. That's it. Now the container, because this is the input group, the paragraph and the container you are having, actually for this I give style width as some 600 pixels width, then it will fit like this. Size will be adjusted. I said width as suppose 500 pixel, width will be adjusted. Right? We can keep the width and height, suppose 550 pixel, then it will be adjusting. And you know how do we keep the center? So how do we keep the center? Suppose I want to keep into center, content everything into center. Actually, we have to use dflex, display flex, justify content center, and align items center. These are the classes we have to use so that it can keep the content into center. We can keep the content into center. And I am adjusting the height here. We are configuring the height to 600 pixels and it gets the height here. It will get the height here. Right? That means you can adjust according to the requirements. Now we designed a Netflix register component. Not Netflix page. We designed only Netflix register component. And here we are using Bootstrap. These are general things. HTML, CSS, people know how to design. This is not Angular. Now don't think that in Angular you learned how to design register form. These are silly things. These are very small concepts. After all, HTML, CSS, Bootstrap people know this, how to design. You haven't learnt any Angular related special thing. Only the point is you learned how to design this in an Angular component. That's it. You haven't learnt any, this is not Angular design. This is after all HTML. This is after all HTML and Bootstrap. This is nothing to do with Angular. Angular we are using only for component. What is advantage of component? If the same register component I need everywhere, then so many times I need, I can simply replicate it. For example, see here, suppose you saw the website here. You see the Netflix website, they have register here. And scroll down somewhere bottom, again they have that. Somewhere bottom, again they have that. That means now what we can do, suppose I want this again. If I want this again, then what to do? So let's go to index. In index, I am adding again. I am adding again. You see, I am implementing Netflix register. That means I am using 2 times. I am reusing it. I am reusing it. And you can see this in the home page. That means in the home page, when you look at this in the home page, reusing this means you can, here currently it is overlapping on the same. So why? Because, so we have the same. That means Netflix register, you copied it and you put it again here, the same in the body section. That means your intention is implement 2 times, but it is showing only 1. Why? Because already you know how many times you have to use. You need to import so many times, right? That I will show you how we can repeat this now. We can repeat this anywhere and implement that. How for that reusability, I will tell you. This is not anything problem. I will tell you now how to implement, right? Multiple we will see. For example, what we done now, Netflix register is ready. Okay, Netflix register is ready. Where is that? This is register is ready. Now I want this also. And I can give this as Netflix main. I can give this as Netflix main. That means that is the main. I can give this as Netflix main. Okay. And you see, Netflix main contains background, some banner. We have some Netflix banner in the background. And header, later we will see how to design a separate header. Let's create Netflix main. Let's create another component. So I don't want to start with register. So let's go and design another component. ng generate component. And what is it? Netflix main skip test. Okay, I am designing Netflix main component. I am designing Netflix main component. And observe carefully here. We have to start with Netflix main component. So app modules, which component to start with? Netflix main. We will start with Netflix main. And in the index also, we have to change it to Netflix main. We will change this to Netflix main. Currently, you can see Netflix main is working fine. Netflix main is working fine, but it is empty. Nothing is there here, right? Now, let's design the main. How we can create the main, Netflix main. So, I will go to now Netflix main component here. Netflix main component. In this main component, here we are going to, so HTML file, HTML, here we have to design a container div. I will keep the class as container fluid. Okay, that is the class I given. Now, what we have to do is, we have to keep a background picture. We want to keep a background picture. So what I will do is, so I will keep an ID. I will keep an ID as background. Okay. Now how to write ID? We need a picture also. So where to keep all the pictures in project? I told you we have a separate folder. What is it? Assets. So let's go to assets folder. Open this assets folder. Open that assets folder. It is currently empty. Open in File Explorer, and in my computer, I have, in my computer, I have some images, some Netflix image. Okay, I will take some images here. So some shopping web applications, in public images. Suppose Netflix back, there is a picture Netflix back. I will copy it and I will paste here. In assets, I am keeping it Netflix back, and it is a JPG file. So you see now here, I will go to Netflix main CSS. I will access that hash background, that is ID na. IDs are defined in this way. I will put an background image URL. This URL is using assets. In assets, we have Netflix back.jpg. We are using Netflix back.jpg. Actually, we are applying that Netflix back.jpg here, and you can see it is showing some problem now. It says that compiled with problems, Netflix main CSS have a problem. Why CSS have a problem? Because this is the assets folder. Here, so many things I will tell you here. So many important things you need to understand actually. This assets is already configured in project. That means we have a file called angular.json. In angular.json, already there is a setting that this project should pick up the static resources automatically from which folder? Assets. In that case, you don't need to use // and all this. You have to just put slash and you have to put the folder name. What is the folder name? Assets. And now, actually, in the Netflix main component HTML, there is no content here. Suppose I will put here style height as, suppose I given the height as suppose from 500 pixels. That means we are increasing the height. You can see the background image is there. We have that background image so defined here. This is the background image. This is the background image. Now we can keep this background image and height, depending on height 600 or how much it is. And you know how to set up the background image. Actually in CSS, what you can do, background size, you can set background size. I can say contain. Background size contain, it will fit like this. You can put stretched width, height, how much you want. You can use contain means it will correctly fit. But what is happening here is background image is dominating. If you see the Netflix website, it is not dominating. So background image is there, but it is dominating here. Why? Because dark colors are there. So we need to make it transparent. There is nothing to make transparent because in CSS we can use opacity, but if you put opacity, it will put opacity for entire content. So we want only this to dull, make it dull. Then what you can do is you use your CSS technique sum. What you can do is in this component, you put another container. You put another container. Inside that, you put another container, and I will put ID for this as, I will put an ID for this as block background. Okay, block background. Okay, now I will write that ID here. hash, what is it? Block background. Okay, that is the ID. Here I am keeping background color. Suppose I am giving black and I am giving height as 600 pixels. You see, actually the background complete black will come. Complete black will come. But I will do one thing. I just use RGBA. You know, in CSS, red, green, blue, alpha. So red is 0, green is 0, blue is 0, then it is black color. Alpha means transparency. Transparency 0.5. So that will make transparent. Now the picture looks transparent. How much transparency you decide. That means you put the transparency here. Transparency is suppose 0.6. Then more darker it will come. Right? How much transparency you want. And you can adjust the margins also now, width, height, how much you want. So that means here it is having, so margin left as minus 20 pixel. That means left side it will cover. Now I am giving here width as 120 pixel, 120%. I am giving width. Then it will fit like this. Now you can see sides also covered, right? Sides also covered and it is displayed in this way. It depends how much you want to configure. These are all your CSS knowledge. Now this is your Netflix main. In this Netflix main, I want to use register form. I want to use some headings, register and everything. See what you can do. In this Netflix main, this is the Netflix main. In this Netflix main, I want to use register component. Simple. Call that component here. What is it? App. We have to call the component here. App. What? Netflix register. You have to just call the component here. I called that app Netflix register component here. It will come here. But very important, it is already having a black background. We will remove it. Okay. In Netflix register, it is having a black background. I will remove that. I will remove that. That will be better. Now you have that Netflix register on the background. Now very important, this main, you observe carefully here. This is Netflix main component. In the main component, I am accessing Netflix register. What I will do, I will copy it one more time. I copy it one more time. You can see, so here again the Netflix register will come. But I need to adjust the height now, right? Because depending on height, right? I need to adjust the height to, so we configure, we remove that height for that actually. So because if you remove the height, then you see it will be like this. The background height in CSS I given as 600, right? This also I will delete. If you delete them, what will happen is they will fit according to content. If you delete them, they will fit according to the content. That means according to the content, it is going to fit that. And you see, we are repeating it. We are repeating that content and we are changing it. We are repeating the content. We are repeating it. That means we are creating. So we are creating the component and we are configuring it. Now CSS related anything, don't ask how to do like this, how to do like that. That you learn CSS. Angular is not headache. Your CSS headache. Right? In Angular, I will not deliver anything related to CSS things, time waste. Right? Angular developer must be strong in this because you can't design anything. CSS related doubts, don't ask here. I will not even answer. Right? Why? Because this is not CSS class, HTML class, Bootstrap class. This is Angular. Here we will learn how to use it. If you know, you have to follow. Otherwise, you do some research by yourself, learn them and use. Nothing else. Right? Because we can't waste time in teaching you all the CSS again here. Right? And whatever today you learned is nothing much about Angular. In Angular, we just learned how to reuse a component. In Angular, we are learning how to reuse a component. We can reuse the component any number of times. We can configure any number of times, right? We can reuse the components and use them. You see it repeating. Now, in this main, observe here, we can put anything. Suppose you see this is already there. We need to keep this. You can keep this anywhere. I will copy that, whatever content is there. Now you can keep this because it is to be centered, displayed in the center and all. What generally we do is, you see Netflix main component. Above this, we are keeping a heading, right? Above that, generally what we do, we use a main. You know, we have a main in HTML. In HTML, we use a main. In that heading one, some style. What I will do, first one I will give in heading 1, and second one I will give in heading 3. Like this, I am adding these 2 lines. Now you can see the main contains that information here. Main contains that information, but it is present here. That means now what you have to do, you have to bring it to center, align to center. You have to do lot of things. Because to keep anything to center, so you need to apply the options. Actually, in the main, what we have to do is, this is the background. To keep anything to center, we have to use the option justify content. Justify content center. Align items center. And display, we have to keep it as flex. This will keep everything into center actually. But all the content must be in one container only. That means all these must be in one container. You cannot have outside. Then in that case, it will display to the center. And you need to adjust the width now, because some width is affected here. You need to adjust the width. And foreground color, text color, what we have to do, we have to use class as text white. Text white will apply like this. And for this, I need to set some width. How much width you want, you need to configure. The background width, all these things are important, right? For Netflix background, here we are using width as 120%, 110%. How much you have for that other content, it will adjust. I will put 120%. That will fit like this. And another content we have, what is it? This is also class. What is the class? Text white. Or you can put it for the main, it will display like this. And this will have the class like alignments, text center. Alignment, it will keep. We need to adjust from top, from bottom, and we need to keep your content. Reusability of components is very important. Now, how do we design a components like this? This is the complete hierarchy. We design 2 components. One is main, another one register. In main, we designed the background and some title. And in that main, we are using register. And we want register 2 times, 3 times, your wish. You have to just reuse it. So that means now the register form is 2-3 times defined here. Right? So reusability and designing is important, right? Later I will show you complete headers, footers and everything, how to design. But first you must try this, how to create components with such hierarchy. These 2 examples I will upload into class. That means one is register, another one is main. These 2 examples with code I will upload. You can try them. Then in the next session, Now we will go into the concept of data binding, how data binding interactions are handled in Angular, right? That we'll see tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll continue. Okay, right.